Dwarf's Gold and the Red Handkerchiefs. Once upon a time, there was a young Irishman who loved being lazy and daydreaming. One sunny day, as he lay on the green grass dreaming about becoming rich, he suddenly heard strange noises coming from the grass. Trick-track, tack-tuck, pat-cut. What could that be, he wondered. The sounds didn't match anything he had heard before. It's not a cricket, he thought, because crickets chirp, chirp, chirp. And it's not a frog, they go croak, croak. Curious, he listened closely. Soon, the sounds came again, trick-track, tack-tuck, trick-track. The young man knelt down and carefully parted the tall grass, looking for the source of the noise. What did he see? There, among the grass, was a tiny dwarf dressed in green clothes, hammering away at a little stone with a tiny hammer. At first, the young man was amazed. Then he began to think, this is a dwarf. A real dwarf. If there are dwarves, there must also be pots of gold. For years, the young man had dreamed of getting rich without working. Now, he felt lucky. Quietly, he took off his hat and sneaked up behind the dwarf, who hadn't noticed him yet. Then, in one swift motion, he trapped the dwarf under his hat. Gotcha! The young man shouted. The dwarf, startled and scared, struggled to escape, but the young man held him tight. You must have treasure, said the young man. If you tell me where it is, I will let you go. The dwarf, seeing no way to escape, sighed and said, Fine, but how can I talk if you're squeezing me so tightly? The young man loosened his grip. Now, put me down, said the dwarf, and I will tell you where my gold is. Don't worry, I won't run. You can catch me easily if I try. The young man thought about it and decided the dwarf was right. He carefully set the dwarf on the ground. Why do you want gold? The dwarf asked. To be rich. To live a good life, the young man replied. I see. Don't worry, you will be rich, said the dwarf. He pointed to a big thistle plant nearby. My gold is buried under that thistle. But you will need a pickaxe to dig it up. Go get one. To help you remember where the plant is, I will tie my red silk handkerchief to it. What if you untie the handkerchief while I'm gone? Asked the young man suspiciously. I won't, promised the dwarf. Dwarfs always keep their word. I even promised you would become rich, didn't I? Excited, the young man ran home, grabbed a pickaxe, and rushed back to the field. But when he returned, what did he see? The vast field was now covered in thousands of thistle plants, and each one had a red silk handkerchief tied to it. The young man felt as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over his head. At first, he was furious, thinking the dwarf had lied. But then he calmed down and realized the dwarf had kept his promise. The dwarf said he wouldn't untie the handkerchief, and he hadn't. He just tied more handkerchiefs to other plants. The young man sat down and thought. How could he become rich now? As he held one of the beautiful silk handkerchiefs, an idea struck him. Of course. I can gather these handkerchiefs and sell them. So, he got to work, collecting the handkerchiefs one by one. Under the hot sun, he worked hard, gathering thousands of them. What happened next? The young man took the handkerchiefs to the market and sold them. With the money he earned, he bought more handkerchiefs from faraway places and sold those too. He started working hard and, just as the dwarf promised, he became one of the richest merchants in the country. Thank you for listening.